Good evening, Team Our Victory. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. I hope you're wearing your green so that I don't have to pinch you virtually through this screen. My name is Brittany McMillan, and I am here tonight to host our weekly webinar series. Tonight, it's all about flipping the switch, okay? And not just any switch, but flipping the passion switch. A lot of times you might hear people just say, you know what, I just lost my passion. I just lost it. I don't know where it went. I lost my passion. I just don't have it anymore. And I'm here to talk to you about that, about what that means when you say I've lost my passion. Well, passion isn't something that you find. It's not something that you lose and then you find it again. It doesn't go anywhere. Your passion is already inside of you. So the good news is, if you're not feeling passionate lately about the work you're doing in whatever capacity, but if you're just simply not feeling passionate about it, let me encourage you that the passion isn't gone and somewhere that you have to go looking for. The passion is still deep inside of you where it always was, and it's kind of like electricity. So just like this light switch behind me right here, when that switch is off, okay, when the switch is off, there is still electricity running through this. And that was like always my favorite lesson with my students when I was teaching in elementary school, was that the switch is off, but there's still electricity running through the wires inside of it. All of those wires are just energetic with all of that electricity, right? And so all I have to do, guys, with this switch is flip it on like that, and all of a sudden, that electricity can come out, it can shine, it is bright, it is visible to all of us. And your passion is very similar to that light switch and like the electricity inside of it. It's always there, guys. It's always there. Even when that switch is off, it's in the off position, it's still deeply embedded inside, moving around, just waiting for that flip, that switch to go, okay? So here's the good news tonight. This is the good news, is that if you want to feel passionate about what you're doing in your business or about your day-to-day life and just some of the things that you might be going through, if you feel like you've lost this passion and you want it back, well, guess what, guys? All you have to do is turn that passion switch on. Okay, and we're going to talk tonight about the different passion switches that there are when it comes to work. Okay, but passion, guys, it lives in our heads, it lives in our hearts. It doesn't escape there. It truly doesn't escape there. You are born with that in your head and your heart, and through your journeys and lives and the separate things that we all do. That's how we find our passions, the things that we experience, the people we come into contact with, the things that we enjoy doing, our hobbies. All of those things mold those passions inside of our heads and our hearts. So they're not gone, my friends. They're not gone. They simply just need to be turned on. So let's talk about switch number one. Switch number one is being passionate about what you do. So the passion about what? Now, this is the biggest switch that most people rely on. Most people, when you speak to them about passion and they're like, you know, I can't find it, or I'm just not passionate about my work, I hate my job, they're mostly focused on what they're doing. And this one can be such a trap sometimes, because here's the newsflash. What we do on a day-to-day basis in any job, I don't care what job you're referring to right now or thinking about, but most of the work that you do on a daily basis is completely unsexy. It's just completely unsexy work. It is not something that you want to flash about or gloat about. Truthfully, most of the work that everybody does, probably about 95% of everybody's work, I don't care what work we're talking about, but about 95% of the work that you're doing is simply just work. It's what it is. It's tedious, it's ugly, it's annoying sometimes, it's tasks that you don't enjoy doing that you're like, man, I want to put that off every single day. That is what most work is, right? So most often we focus on the what, this what switch, and we want to flip on like what I'm doing, and I want to love what I'm doing, but I hate to break it to you. Only about 5% of that what switch is actually like the super cool fun stuff. So I kind of think of like the Ellen DeGeneres show. I like to think about Ellen in this capacity, because with Ellen, like I see her show and I just see this like amazing production. She's so funny. She's got all these great people working for her. The content that they come up with on a daily basis, it's great. Give me 1 second. I'm going to coming in. Okay. All right. So what she's doing on a daily basis is just, it looks so much fun. The Ellen Show just looks like, yeah, I want to do that. I want to be on the Ellen Show. I want to be Ellen. I want to work like she works. Because what we're seeing, guys, is we're seeing 1 hour of her day. And not even, I mean, let's talk, like, there's commercial breaks. So I'm rounding up 1 hour, and there's 5 shows a week. So that's 5 days a week. So that's 5 hours in a week. If I round up 5 hours out of her entire week. And I hate to break it to you, but most of the things that she's doing in that other time, those other hours, and if you want to do some math real quick for me, that's awesome. You can totally do that. But whatever other hours are remaining, after we subtract 5 hours from an entire week, the rest of what she's doing is probably not all that fun. It's probably not sexy. It's probably not your dream job. So a lot of times I think when we get into this Beachbody business and we start thinking about like, well, I'm supposed to do this because I'm passionate and I'm doing this job because, I want to work from home and I want to work for myself and I don't want to deal with my boss anymore and I want to go on vacations. I want to live a life by design. And guess what? You get to do all of that, but the what of what you're actually doing on a day-to-day basis is not sexy. It's not something that you're going to be bragging about on a daily basis. Okay? A lot of the work is tedious. It is. So when you say, I want that, when you stand back and you look at somebody like Ellen, or you look at the top Beachbody coach, you look at Melanie Mitro and you look at her and you say, I want that. I want her life. Do you? Do you really? Do you want that? Or do you just want what you see in that red carpet highlight reel? Okay, so you got to be very careful when you look at people who are successful and saying, you know what, I want what they have. Because I don't think you really see often, and when I say you, I mean all of us, not just like you, but I don't think we often see what really goes into their success. We truly don't. Just like people who think we're successful and they look up to us don't necessarily see what it takes to have our level of success on a daily basis, or to post the way we post consistently, or to reach out and create these challenge groups and run them properly with love in our hearts, right? And just pouring that out to our challengers and our clients. People don't see that behind the scenes stuff. They just see what we post. They see the afters. They see the success. And so you got to be very careful when you say, I want that. 5% of what people do is actually amazing, and 95% of it is totally unsexy. So this is that what switch. And a lot of times I think that's the switch we all focus on. I got to switch what I'm doing so I can be passionate about what I'm doing. I want that switch to turn on. And we're going to talk about 3 other switches in this webinar tonight, but I'm going to bet that this isn't actually the switch that you need to turn on to ignite your passion. The what switch most often is it's not, like I said, the most glamorous thing. 95% of your work is just tedious stuff that you got to do every single day, and it's not sexy. And here's the deal, guys. And this is something you could like put on a Post-it and smack up on top of your screen on your computer so you see it every single day. But hear me out. Nothing is awesome all the time. Nothing. So if you got into this business because you had this like picture in your head, this dream image, that's awesome. I want you to keep dreaming, and I want you to think big and be large with that and be bold with your dreams. Absolutely. Absolutely. But keep in mind that that image you're seeing isn't going to be the meat and potatoes of the work of what you're actually doing every single day. Okay? So that's switch number 1, being passionate about what you do. Is your what switch on? If you need to turn on the what switch, and don't get me wrong, you might be doing a job that you don't want to be doing. Like, I don't want to be doing this. I'm zero passion for this. That's fine. You can get out of that job and find something you're passionate about. And that's kind of the course that I took getting into Beachbody, was to do what I could be passionate about doing, right? But just remember that the what is oftentimes the one that most people feel is not turned on, but the reality is about 95% of your what switch is not going to look that great anyway. Okay. Switch number 2, being passionate about why you do it. So that's the second switch, the passion switch about why you do what you're doing. So let me ask you this question. What is your mission? What is your mission as a Beachbody coach? What is your mission on our team? What is your mission about building a team for yourself? What is your mission when you run challenge groups? What is your mission when you go to post every day? What is your mission? What fuels you up? Okay, what just builds you, like fills you with fire, and you just feel excited inside and like nervous a little bit, and just all kinds of the feels, right? You got all the feels going, and gets you out of bed in the morning. Like, what powers you to want to get out of bed and like, I want to go do that? That, my friends, is your why. What gets you out of bed? What's pumping you up? What's getting that blood flowing in your body? And the mission. Why you go and do what you do every day. Why? So that why switch can easily be turned on by answering those couple of questions. Like, what is it? What's your mission? What are you really trying to accomplish? Why do you get out of bed and do this? Why, right? Just answering that simple question. This switch is a little bit easier for me to go over because, I mean, it really is just that question. Why? Why do you do this? And I can't answer that for you. You can't answer that for me. We all have our own reason of why we do this. But if you turn that why switch on, all of a sudden you're going to have something reignited in you that will push you to get out of bed in the morning, that will allow you to work on the days when it doesn't feel like you want to do it. Like when the what kind of stinks, when that what switch is off and you're like, ugh, really, I got to invite more people again today. I hate inviting people. And you're feeling like that. Well, why? Why are you reaching out and inviting those people? What is the end result looking like for you? Once that person loses 50 pounds, once that person has turned their life around, once that person has become not depressed anymore and is living their best selves, I mean, that is a big factor of why. So when you have to do that what and go ahead and invite somebody that, and it's just tedious, ugly work, well, thinking about why you're doing it is what's going to drive you to do that. Mark Twain said, the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and then the day you find out why. So maybe you don't know why you're here on this planet. I mean, my friends, I struggle with that every single day. That is a prayer that I say morning, noon, and night is, God, why? Like, why? What do you have me here for? What am I doing? What is my purpose? What are you pushing me to do? And I'm still trying to really wrap my head around it, but I know I'm in the right direction. So that why is strong. And I do have a very clear why of why I work, the way I work with people, because I've figured that out. But when we talk about like bigger scheme, yeah, I struggle with that too. Like, for what? And those are that's a faith trail that you've got to go down sometimes, but it's so important to know why you're on this planet. Okay. Third switch, being passionate about how you do it. So we said we've got the what switch. We can turn on the why switch. Now let's talk about turning on the how switch. I like this one. I really like this one because I love doing great work. I love putting pen to paper, making something come alive. I think I wrote it on our team page the other day that I love creating. Like, I just love creating my images. I love creating content. I love creating my blog articles. I just love creating. And so it's the how sometimes for me that gets me fired up. And, what kind of care, what kind of craftsmanship do you put into the work that you do? So on a daily basis, when you go in to work your business, what care are you giving to the stuff that you're doing? On that note, I need a timeout for 2 seconds. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. I had a timer going off and there was nobody to touch it. Oh man. Okay. Sorry. So back to the how. Putting in that care, putting in that craftsmanship, developing things. It's being passionate about doing things with excellence. So not just putting something out just to put it out, or, or you take all this time and then it doesn't get any sort of response. The people who are passionate in the how department are the ones that, they get excited when people like their posts, and they get excited when there's interaction with something that they did, or somebody reaches out to them and says, like, oh man, like, thank you so much for sharing that. That was so awesome. That really touched me today, because how you did it, that care that you put into it, that perfection that you tried your hardest, doing it with excellence, right? That you infused into whatever it was that you crafted that day, whether it was a post, blog article, a full challenge group that you ran from start to finish, whatever that is, the care that you put behind that and the execution of it all. And then to have people respond to it. I mean, if that fires you up, that's something that fires me up. So on the days when it's like, I'm just not excited about what I'm doing today. I'm not excited about my business. It's not that I lost my passion. So if you're joining us a little later in this, at the very beginning, I was talking about how people tend to say, I lost my passion. No, We don't lose our passion. It's just not turned on. So these switches have to get turned on, whether it's the what you're doing or the why you do it or the how you're doing it. You've got to turn those switches on, and they don't all have to be on, but you've got to find at least the one switch that kind of just lets it go for you, right? And for me, a lot of times it's the how. I love the quality of my work. I love the execution of what I do, and I love that outcome of it all. So I crave that process. I truly do. I crave designing content, designing images. I love thinking through challenge groups, getting ready to design a new challenge group. I love making meal plans, and I just love crafting it all together. And I'm not super tech savvy. And along the lines, I've kind of learned how to make things better over time, and watch other coaches who do it better than I do and use their resources and see where I can fit myself in. But I love when I just execute something and I know that I put all of my heart and all of my passion behind it, and that it's just great quality. I love that. It requires bringing a level of precedence, a level of joy and energy into everything and anything that you choose to do. So and this might not be your department. Maybe you're stronger in the why. Maybe you have a really strong why, right? Maybe you have a really strong what you're doing. Maybe how isn't your department, but if how is your department, then you're bringing that energy, you're bringing that joy, you're bringing that level of excellence every single time you sit down to craft something. And that's not to say that if you don't do that if how isn't your passion switch, that's not saying that your work is like crummy work and you're just putting stuff and fluff. That just means that this isn't what fuels you to get out of bed in the morning, right? But if how is what fuels you, then please, my friend, more power to you. Go after those hows. Final switch is switch number 4. It's being passionate about who you are doing it for. So who does your work benefit? Maybe it's for your children. Maybe you want to set a great example for them as a mother or a father, as a role model, right? Maybe it's for your family. Maybe you are that change, that health change in your family, and you can be kind of the difference maker for all of them. Maybe it's your own family that you've started, your children and your husband or wife or whatever, and it's your own personal family that you've created, and now you get to call the shots as mother or father, as the person kind of molding and shaping your family. Maybe it's for people in your community. Maybe you have a strong sense of community wherever you live, and maybe it's for those people, or friendships, right? Strong sense of friendships, and maybe it's for those people, and you want to make a difference in that community, whatever it may be, or in that forum, that platform, whatever it is for you. Maybe it's your job. You want to be a difference maker there, and you want people to turn their heads and eyes towards you and your passion. Definitely, though, it's got to be for somebody else. So the why, and this is where I fall into traps a lot, is a lot of times my why is for me. Or I'm sorry, not my why, my who is for me. A lot of times when I focus on the who, I focus on myself. And it's very self-centered, and I know that. I totally know that. But it's kind of the way I'm wired. Like I'm doing this for me, like this is what I do it for me. But in this case, the reason why this is probably not my biggest passion switch is because your who really should be somebody else. It should be so strong, somebody else that you want to work so hard for. You want to bring home financial freedom to your family. You want to be able to take your husband on a dream vacation. You want to be able to help pay those bills off. You want to get yourself out of debt. You want to build a dream house, whatever it is for you. That you're trying to help these people pay your children's way through college, or be able to supply them with whatever they want, whenever they want it, because you just can, right? It's got to be that big. And unfortunately, or fortunately, not really, neither here nor there, but I'm just not in a place in my life, like I don't have children yet, and so I'm sure that my passion switch could shift eventually. And maybe the who is going to be a big one for me down the road. But right now for me, it is not the biggest one, because I tend to be selfish in this category. Martin Luther King Jr. said, if you haven't found something you are willing to die for, you aren't fit to live. Now, this is strong, and this is a bold quote, that, if you haven't found something that you want to die for, then you're not even living. That is crazy strong, but it's so true. You've got to have you have to be boiling with excitement when it comes to what you're doing and the differences you're making, there's just no other option. And I see it a lot of times. I see it with coaches a lot of times who, I kind of talked about this on the team the other day about trying once and then kind of giving in. And I see this often with coaches, that they will put themselves out there. They will try. And when I say once, I mean, maybe they tried for a month, 2 months, whatever, I'm still going to call that once, because that's not a long period of time at all. So let's say they try for that short period of time and they don't get much in return. The reason it's so easy for coaches to quit in the beginning stages within that first year, it's so easy to quit because that passion switch isn't on. And the only way to truly get that passion switch on is to grow such a deep connection in your own personal story and your own personal attachment to what you're doing, that there's just no other option. Beachbody for me saved my life in a time when I was down and out, and it saved me. It allowed me to get strong mentally by I stopped worrying about my problems and I put it into the workout. I sweat in the workout and I just got rid of whatever I was worrying about that day. Forget it, I'm pressing play. And I learned how to diligently do that and release my emotions of things that just didn't matter, right? I also learned through personal development about how to build better relationships. I learned through personal development how to be a better friend, a better sister, a better mom, a better whatever, yeah? I learned how to just be a better person, a better version of Brittany. And by becoming a better version of Brittany, I stopped tolerating people who didn't accept that version of Brittany. I stopped tolerating it. So I was able then to start removing people from my life that didn't matter, that didn't truly matter. And I was able to rebuild a life that I was just cruising down this life that was very comfortable. It's totally comfortable. But when I got into Beachbody, I realized that in order to be the Brittany that I was put on this planet to be and to actually make the dent that I want to make, I had to make some bold changes, some bold choices. And so it gave me this courage to do so. It gave me these wings to fly. I started surrounding myself with like-minded people in this business and getting on webinars and listening to my team calls and connecting with those people from afar, because those were the people that were thinking the way I was thinking. Those are the people wired the way I'm wired. And even if it meant that in real life I didn't have that person standing next to me by my side, I knew they were out there, and they are out there, and we've got them on our team, and it's amazing. So you've got to kind of get into a place where it's like there's no going back. Like you are so attached. And so if you're still on the fence in your business and you're kind of like you're not super attached to Beachbody, you don't have a story yet, I just keep encouraging you to find that story, because it does come with time. The more I pushed play, the more programs I tried, the more challenge groups that I ran, the more times that I failed and put myself out there, it just made me grow hungrier. Right? I just was able to grow hungrier. And each time I did that, my passion switches could turn on about what I was doing and why I wanted to do it so bad and how I was going to produce all these things and do it for people and who I was even doing it for. All of those switches, the 4 switches, were able to turn on. Now, again, these switches don't all have to come on all at the same time. You don't need this big epiphany of all 4 switches are on. It's like National Lampoon's Christmas when he finally plugs in the Christmas lights and the freaking neighborhood is all lit up from his house. It doesn't have to be like that. But you do need to have 1 switch on at least at a time. Otherwise, if you don't have any sort of passion on, you're going to quit. You're going to quit. And here's the deal. I relate and I parallel Beachbody with life. So sure, at-home workouts aren't for everybody. Shakeology is not for everybody. This coaching opportunity in business, not for everybody. And I totally am cool with that. That is totally fine with me. But I parallel this to life. If you can't find something to be passionate about every single day in your life, you're going to quit. And you're just going to keep quitting, and you're just going to keep quitting, and you're just going to keep quitting, because you're going to say, I lost my passion. I'm looking for my passion. You don't have to look. It's inside your heart. It's inside your head. You have it in you. You just have to turn those switches on and answer some of those tough questions. So my question for you is, which switch are you going to flip? Which switch do you need to flip in your own personal business to take it to that next level? Which switch would be easiest for you? And maybe which switch is most difficult? For me, like I said, that how switch is where it's at for me. I can switch on that how. I love that content and everything. I probably need to work on maybe the who. And oftentimes I would even say the why. The what switch, like I said, is super unsexy sometimes. So it's a hard one for us to switch on. That's usually the one that people say they can't find their passion because it's off. That one's a difficult one. But which switch are you going to flip on? And which one are you going to run with? And really, really run with it. You need at least one, like I said, in order to persevere when those times get tough, because they will. but they're gonna, and that's the reality. I'm reading the Entrepreneur Roller Coaster right now by Darren Hardy, and it's so good. It's exactly what we go through, but I kind of pulled those concepts of those 4 switches from that book. So if that's something that was interesting to you, definitely pick up this this book. It's a great read. But I want to read something also directly from the book off my Kindle tonight before I close out our webinar. He's talking about having like extraordinary DNA, like these people, like I said, Ellen DeGeneres earlier, and thinking about our top coach in Beachbody, Melanie Mitro, and just when you think of successful people, right? Oh, they must have something. Their DNA must be wired. Maybe that kind of success is in their DNA. They were born to be successful, right? Sometimes we feel that way. I know I certainly do at times. So no, I want to confirm that their DNA, or it's not special, and this is why. Okay, Richard Branson has dyslexia and had poor academic performance as a student. His headmaster told him he would likely end up in prison. Steve Jobs was born to 2 college students who didn't want to raise him and gave him up for adoption. Mark Cuban was born to an automobile upholsterer. He started as a bartender, then got a job in software sales, from which he was fired. Susie Orman's dad was a chicken farmer, and her mother was a secretary. Susie started as a waitress. Retired General Colin Powell was born in Harlem to immigrant parents from Jamaica. He was a solid C student. Howard Schultz, CEO of Starbucks, was born in a housing authority in the Bronx, and his father was a truck driver. Tony Hawk was so hyperactive that he was tested for psychological problems. Barbara Corcoran, known as the Queen of New York City, is one of 11 children, started as a waitress, and admits to having been fired from more jobs than most people hold in a lifetime. And finally, Pete Cashmore, CEO of Mashable, was sickly as a child and finished high school 2 years later, or 2 years late, due to medical complications, and he never went to college. So not only did everyone on that list come from less than auspicious beginnings, but every single one of them appeared on Darren Hardy's cover of Success magazine. Okay, and so think about how our world would be if those people, those humans, believed that they didn't have greatness. Think about how the world would be if those people didn't flip on that passion switch. They didn't think they had success in them. What would our world be like? So I have to encourage you tonight, friends, that you don't need anybody to tell you. You don't need anybody to tell you, and you also don't need your past to dictate where you're going. Okay? You don't need that at all. All you need is to find something that you're deeply passionate about, whatever it may be, and go run with it. And Beachbody is such a great vehicle for that. Such a great vehicle for you to do whatever it is that you are super passionate about doing, so that you can help others to find their passion. So on that note, that is all that I have for you guys tonight. Again, happy St. Patrick's Day. I am about to go enjoy some green beer and my corned beef and cabbage that's been going in my crock pot all day. Super excited. And I hope you guys have a beautiful evening yourselves. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping in. If you're watching the replay, I really appreciate you taking the time to listen in. And if you have questions about any of this stuff, guys, or just even want to share with us what your switch is going to be, what switch are you going to turn on? I would love to hear that. I'd love to hear that on our team page. So I will be there if you have questions and or just kind of want to share that switch for you. All right, guys, have a great night. Mwah.